over £1 billion spent on over 100 players on July 1st, making this one of the greatest NHL free agencies in a long time. But the big question and the big takeaway is, who won this free agency?
The biggest winner of this free agent frenzy for the NHL is easily the Nashville Predators.
Nashville Predators added Steven Stamkos, who's going to look ugly in that mustard yellow after wearing blue his whole entire life. Marchessault and Brady Shea on a 7x7. Marchessault is around $5 million for 5 years. And
5 point, like
5 mil,
yeah.
which is no need, decimals, too much math. And then Stamkos 4x8, making Nashville the biggest upgraded team so far from last year. Nashville's foundation that the Barry Trotz group laid down was defense, play hard, you have good goaltending, forecheck, be physical. But now you added a little bit of offensive firepower. Stamkos may be old, but he's scored 40 goals last year. And Marchessault again with a great year with Vegas. And they added two offensive stars into their lineup. And they are going to be a big jump team next year.
How much of this was like the team last year surprised the front office that, like, okay, clearly these guys can play defense. Ryan O'Reilly and Luke Shen were the main pieces last year, and they added the culture, right, with Andrew Burnett leading the way as the head coach. And then this year, when they saw that, 19-game point streak, at least getting a point in 19 straight games or something like that, like after the U2 concert they canceled that U2 concert. Was it like, okay, these guys clearly made the playoffs. The thing they lacked against the Canucks was scoring, and overall, obviously scoring, that they went out, yes, older, but still a 40-goal scorer in Steven Stamkos. And same thing with Jonathan Marchessault, who was coming off he is the consummate winner when Vegas won the cup.
Yeah, two great guys, right? Locker room guys. The issue is age, that is for sure. Obviously now a lot of money and a fair bit of term for, some old guys who are 34 plus, essentially, both of them. It's going to help, but their window is going to be a little bit shorter now.
It's 2-3 years.
And because Ryan O'Reilly and Luke Shen are old themselves. So
Philip Forsberg
is getting up there in age. He's their only young guy.
But he's still not young either, right?
Compared to the other guys.
Isn't he 28 to 30?
Yeah, he's up there in age.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying he's their best young guy compared to everyone else on the team. Again, Yossi's up there in age as well. Saros is going to get up there in age.
Saros extension too, which is big.
Yeah, they have the goalie. And they're kind of built to win now. I'm not sure how the fit's going to work because I do feel like they're still thin on centers because I don't think Stamkos will be a centerman, but I don't think he'll get the job done defensively as much as he will offensively as well, which is, again, Nashville's foundation and their culture. So I don't know if they got players that necessarily fit their culture, but they got players that will definitely help them offensively. That is
I think
sure.
the culture, I think it's fine, right? I think they established that culture last year, and these two guys aren't like PLD. Like, they're not Luc Dubois type guys. They're older vets. They've won Stanley Cups, captain. One of them being a captain, right? Marchessault being an alternate captain, I'm assuming, with Vegas. Both of them treated like shit by their former franchise, which we'll get into later. But I don't think their culture. I think those guys will fit that culture perfectly fine, right? I don't think Barry Trotz is stupid to go after these two guys.
Yeah,
if that's the case, clearly.
Unless they're just solely focused on upgrading the offense.
To address the center, I'm sure there'll be as soon as the season starts, what the Canucks did last year, target players that they could get. They targeted Lindholm, for example. In that case, but whoever else could be available, because they also have a key trade piece in their goalie. I forget his name. Their prospect.
So one of their prospects, because it was a debate that they should have traded Saros and give that guy his NHL experience and get him again in the pipes, but they chose to extend Saros. So now they made the decision. They do have a big trade piece. Obviously, they'll probably have their first round pick. So that pair that up together, you should be able to get someone solid coming back the other way. But overall, the Predators are gonna be a big jump team. Again, with Brady Shea added to that defensive group, who was a stud in Carolina. Maybe a slight overpay, but who cares at this rate? Because they just went all in. And it was a good time to go all in because there were quite a few, good people to add, like Marchessault, Gensel, Tanev. Like, there was a solid free agent group, and they got like 3 of the top 5, I would say, in the free agent list that actually made it into July 1, obviously, because Tanev and Gensel technically re-signed.
The other underrated move for them was they added a decent backup goalie in Scott Wedgwood, who had time with Dallas last year, right? So it's not like, because Saros himself, the issue with Saros was like, he did fine at the Canucks series, don't get me wrong, but he gets a heavy load himself, right? And now with your window being this close, you can't have that risk of injuries.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disrespect Wedgwood, but he was in Dallas. Who's Dallas goaltender? Jake Onger.
Yeah.
What was his biggest issue? Having a big workload. So I don't think Wedgwood's really gonna play in too much of effect of that because he didn't really do that for Jake Onger. Nothing tells me right now he's gonna do that with UC Saros.
Well, no, it's just like it's still who knows what will happen.
Who knows? Like that's up to them how they're gonna use it. But like right now, off observation, Jake Onger still got that heavy load, even with Scott Wedgwood being in that.
Just so we don't disrespect this guy, it's Yaroslav Askarov.
Yeah.
Who's the goalie prospect that's going to be available. But no, okay, yeah, like you said, biggest jump team for sure. So, what's 2 questions. 1, what's their cup status for you for next year? 2, easy top 3 lock for you, especially with Winnipeg not doing much and losing their pieces they added at the deadline.
I'm confident they'll jump Winnipeg in the Central Division. And obviously, I don't think no one else is really going to jump the Predators because I don't think St. Louis or Minnesota done enough to overtake the Predators and what they already were. And now the Predators added, I think they overtake Winnipeg. Again, you're going to be competing with Dallas and Colorado in that division, so it's going to be tough already.
Dallas did lose the key pieces too.
Yeah, with Tanev, that's a big piece of loss, obviously. But then again, Dallas was already good before Tanev, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. So they're still the same. Colorado, again, they're studs. So cup-wise, I think it's gonna be tough. It's like we many contenders. You got Vegas, Colorado, Dallas, Edmonton, maybe a Canucks. Obviously now maybe a chucking the Predators in there, and
in the West alone.
That's the West alone, obviously, and that's what they're gonna be. So that's what I'm gonna focus on. So cup wise, I'm not really fully confident because these guys are not those core players that they were like 4 or 5 years ago. Now they're just basically, add-ons and people that could help propel you to a cup, essentially like Stamkos and Marchessault. That's what they are at this age, right? They're still good. They're gonna upgrade your team, but I just don't think it's enough because I don't think Nashville really has much core wise, and to get them to the cup.
Okay, I wouldn't put them in like lock cup contender like an Edmonton, Vegas, Colorado. These guys,
they're
Florida.
still like 5th or 6th.
I would not be surprised if this team makes the final. I'm gonna say that. Like if they add that one center that you're saying. Hockey ain't like basketball.
I know anything could happen. Yeah,
anything could happen. I'm not saying like obviously the favorites usually can get to the final. We saw what happened, right? This team still took Canucks to 6 without any key offensive piece outside of Philip Forsberg. Realistically, right? You add Stamkos, like I said, 40 goal scorer. Jonathan Marchessault also had a pretty good year as well, coming off a cup as well. So I will not be. And then I feel like they have an identity, right? You add Brady Shea, right? Brady Shea. You already have Roman Yossi. You have Luke Shen. So defensively, I think they're fine. UC Saros can be a Vezina candidate next year as well. I'm not going to give them like the top tier contendership.
They're still...
I would give them B tier.
They're still 6. Yeah, B tier is fair.
Yeah.
But you said if they're cup contenders, I said they're not. Essentially, that's my
But
answer.
I wouldn't be...
But like, they're 6 in the West, at least, like minimum.
But you wouldn't be... Would you be surprised if they make the final, though?
A little bit. I would have been... I think they're the Canucks level. I'll be surprised if Canucks make the final. I think they're a little bit better than the Canucks right now. I would say that.
Okay.
But I don't think they're still Dallas, Colorado, Edmonton, Vegas. I don't think they're still dumb either.
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, this is on paper we're talking about, right? Like once October hits and we actually see them.
We don't know the fit either.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like we gotta like pump the brakes a little bit because Stamkos never played anywhere else other than Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Right? That's going to be a factor.
But he's reunited with Marchessault.
That doesn't mean anything.
I know. I'm just saying
he's playing in a whole different city. He's never done that.
Yeah, no,
before.
for sure. But
that is a big factor.
To your point.
Again, Marchessault and Stamkos they gotta work out how they're gonna fit into this lineup, right? And then again, they are not those type of guys that Nashville Like they're not the Smashville players that Nashville want to be, right?
Because
They're different.
they lost Kiefer Sherwood to our Canucks.
So it's gonna be different, and I personally think that we gotta pump the brakes a little bit. But I'm not saying that they're still the number one winner. They're still the most improved team. But I think we gotta pump the brakes a little bit in terms of cup contenders and all that stuff, because I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, no, we'll just wait till the season starts and then officially decide from there. But
Stamkos and Marchessault, what are the key things in common there? They both got screwed over by their old franchise.
So we're gonna focus more on Tampa. We're not gonna talk much of Vegas in here.
Because
Vegas has always done
Vegas snaking their players is like as common as the sky being blue. So it happens every time.
Like almost 100%.
Yes.
Practically 100%.
Practically 100%.
Yeah, because like Chandler Stevenson left too, right, for Seattle. So
that's Vegas. The Tampa Bay side, the simple short answer I could give you right now is that they chose Hedman over Stamkos. And that's...
Well, not just Hedman either.
They chose Hedman and Jake Gensel, who they signed.
So
obviously traded for rights over Stamkos.
Gotta give some timeline context here. NHL draft was on, by the way, from what... obviously, we know Macklin Celebrini went first and everything, but the key outside of Macklin Celebrini and like maybe the third overall pick being like a surprise, the key story that came out of there was a couple of things. One was the Tampa Bay Lightning and the moves they made. Sergachev, I was going to tie that in with Utah, obviously. Sergachev trading him to Utah with Sergachev, and obviously the other move Utah made was adding John Marino from the Devils. But so that was one move they made, and then the other one they made to make space was...
I don't remember. They made space on draft day. So initially we thought, okay, they're probably gonna re-up Stamkos. But that wasn't the case, because the next the line that came out is that Tampa Bay are in on Jake Gensel.
And then they officially made that trade the next morning.
To get his rights.
Right?
And then that night, or like the night before free agency, Jake Gensel and Tampa Bay agreed on technically extension.
7 years, $9 million. Yeah.
7 years, $9 million AAV, total $63 million.
63 million.
Quick math.
But going back to the Stamkos situation, let's just talk about that situation alone first very quickly. How surprised are you? If you're a Tampa Bay fan, how do you feel? Victor Hedman signed his extension today, and he wasn't happy with that as well.
Yeah, you're losing your captain. You're losing a guy who's been there for like 15 years plus.
And who wants to still be there.
And who want to still be there, right? So obviously, as a fan, I'll be like, Stamkos on any other team, any other color, just doesn't make sense, and he should have been a Tampa Bay Lightning for life, right? Just like how Crosby should be a Penguin for life, and just like how Ovechkin should be a Capital for life. That's what Stamkos is.
Yeah, arguably the goat of the franchise.
Arguably the goat of the franchise, the captain, the leader as well. So players like that don't necessarily get moved. Players like that do get signed. And Tampa Bay just chose to go a different route. That's just simple as that. It was a business decision at the end of the day, right? They saw someone younger who could give them the same production in Jake Gensel, and they took the opportunity in that. They're like, because Stamkos wanted $8 million. You already know Tampa Bay is in cap hell, right? Especially with all the stuff
they made space.
They made space, yeah. But like they're up there in cap. We already know this. There's no hiding from that. $8 million for a guy who's already like 35, essentially, doesn't make sense on the business side. And obviously, because they offered him like 6 years of like $4 million.
8 years for $3 million.
Or $3 million, something like that, just to have more cap per year. And obviously, Stamkos said no to that.
Which is fair. He had
fair.
40
Again,
goals.
So he made his own business decision himself too. So it's not like the Tampa Bay Lightning did not offer him, right? They did offer him something. Yes, it may have been a shitty offer, but they tried. I'm not saying the Tampa Bay Lightning tried. Whereas Vegas were like, nah, get the hell out of here. So in terms of snake levels, I don't think it necessarily reaches Vegas. But then again...
Well, Marshall's was similar vibe.
But then again, nobody touches Vegas.
Yeah,
in terms of snake levels. This is your captain. This is your leader. This is potentially your GOAT. Brought you 2 cups. You got rid of him. And as simple as that is that you valued Hedman and you valued Gensel more. And that's just how it is, because Hedman got the exact same contract Stamkos did.
Yeah, the way I look at it is 2 ways, right? Like, one, you look at it because this guy did bring you 2 cups. Where's the loyalty factor? And we had this discussion last year with the Dame situation before he got traded. Like, what does loyalty get you? And like a Jack Eichel when he won the cup, right? Like we had that discussion. You guys could check that video out on our channel earlier on when we talked about it. But it's just like, yeah, it's a business decision. I get it. But the guy got you 2 cups. The guy is still your like heart and soul type guy in the locker room at the end of the day. He has the C for a reason. He still dropped 40 goals for you. It's not like he was like falling off. Like he wasn't like,
he was their best playoff performer too.
yeah. So at the end of the day, like that's where if I were a Lightning fan, even a fellow Lightning player, like they don't have anything against Gensel, but I'm just saying like I would feel some sort of way because let me ask you this. How much of an upgrade is Gensel over Stamkos?
Obviously, leadership-wise is a downgrade, but like player-wise, maybe slight upgrade in terms of Gensel brings in a better playmaking aspect to his game. Then Stamkos, I think scoring-wise, they both are pretty solid players. They'll get the job done. It just terms of like it balances each other out in terms of off ice. Stamkos obviously has the edge. Because at the end of the day, you're adding another two-time cup winner. Jake Gensel, very experienced, very good. I know he's hasn't been there, and he wasn't the captain, obviously. But at the end of the day, it's not like you're adding some sort of bum. You're adding one of the best wingers in the NHL to replace a guy who is aging, who is, close to retirement.
He's 34.
Close to retirement.
He just turned 34.
Closer to retirement, and then a guy who's 29, and makes much more sense to pay him $8-9 million than obviously a guy who's 34. And if you're looking at that, that's the business decision. Obviously, loyalty is a thing. Tampa Bay should have gotten Stamkos done, 100%. I am on that boat. But they made space to make a slight improvement. I think Gensel is a slight improvement at this point in their careers because Gensel brings a more all-around play than Stamkos, in my opinion. And I think Gensel has a little bit more speed as well in him.
Stamkos had 81 points in 79 games. The breakdown of that is 40 goals and 41 assists. Jake Gensel had 30 goals, 77 points, but in 67 games. So obviously
he was injured. Yeah,
he was injured there as well. But to your point, like again, I don't think it's a massive upgrade. Like will Tampa win the cup next year if it was Stamkos or Gensel? It's either or. It's a pick 'em for me.
They're not winning the cup.
Longevity-wise, sure.
I'm saying this. They're not winning the cup if it was either or. If it was Stamkos still there, I don't think they're winning the cup. If Gensel's there, I don't think it'll be enough for
this coming season. I'm talking about.
Yeah. I don't think they're winning the cup.
Okay, that's still you're putting in the same boat then.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I said it's a slight upgrade on ice. It's a slight downgrade off ice. It's obvious. So it just balances each other out.
Yeah, but like I said, you said that Stamkos has got to figure out how to play in Nashville now.
He does.
Gensel needs to figure out how to play with Kucherov if he's on the same line with him.
Yeah, no, but Gensel, the thing is, Gensel, he's figured out how to play in Carolina before that. He's already been through the move.
Which is fair, but
in season and adjusted quickly while being injured. It's a much bigger issue with Stamkos than it is with Jake Gensel. And it's not even the same tier of a problem. But then again, Stamkos is so good, he'll figure it out. It's just that these fits, with Marchessault, Stamkos, and how it's going to fit in Smashville, because that's the type of hockey they play. That's going to be a little bit of adjustment period, but overall, Predators are solid. Tampa Bay will be solid again. And Jake Gensel is going to be a hell of a player there, because we all know Jake Gensel was the number one guy. Even if Stamkos hit the market, Jake Gensel was the number one guy heading into
for sure. Okay, so my question for you is this now with the Stamkos thing. How should teams do what Tampa essentially did and like, you know what, you're like they literally said like threw the middle finger at their captain. It's their captain, right? Like Klay Thompson is leaving the Warriors, but Klay Thompson isn't Steph Curry. It's like, for them it would be similar if that was Steph Curry.
Yeah.
In this case, like should more teams be doing it? Because again, I understand they won the cup twice. He's their GOAT probably. Like we said, like all the stuff we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, we already said that.
Like for example, as Canucks fans, it's like, oh, we should have moved on from the Sedin era rather than living in the Sedin era or rebuild with the Sedins or anything like that.
Realistically, like I said, how often, like Stamkos is in the same boat as Sedins, is in the same boat as Crosby, is the same boat as Ovechkin, right? Guys that just don't move or
for the respective franchise.
Yeah, just don't, especially when success is there and they brought success. And your teams have actually done well. The fan base love them, all that stuff. right? Like he's that type of player. How often does that type of player really get moved? Unless
Yeah.
they want out. Because I was like the Sounds guys like Thorin and Marlowe, I think they wanted out themselves.
Because they started going down again,
Yeah.
same thing.
Same way, like with the Deans and Canucks, they were so
Sedins didn't
competitive.
want out. Yeah.
And they didn't want out, right? Like Stamkos didn't want out. The Stamkos the only one. So I don't think people are gonna take the Tampa Bay Lightning approach because it's never really been done before.
But should they though?
Why? Well, like I just said, who's it gonna be? Are the Penguins really gonna move on from Crosby?
No, that's my point though. Like,
They
let's just
should,
say, what
like-
if Crosby's commanding a shit ton of money next year?
Because he's Crosby. He's one.
Oh, I know, I get that, but like, you see the current roster. Let's just say Pittsburgh randomly decides to rebuild.
Yeah.
Like randomly decide to rebuild.
Then I don't think Crosby's coming back in a rebuild because
But no,
the team's not gonna be competitive.
I'm gonna I'm just giving a hypothetical right now.
Yeah, so that
Where
makes sense
where
for
Crosby's like, I kind of want to stay, but I want to stay for like 10 mil a year.
I'm pretty confident that Crosby's gonna.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Forget that side of the things for a second. I'm saying, what if this was Pittsburgh?
You give it to him. You offer it. Like Tampa made an offer. Obviously, Stamkos Stamkos said himself he would have been down if it was like 1 million more.
Yeah, no, which is fine, but like it depends on like which way, because we weren't in the room, right? Like obviously Stamkos has publicly said he felt disrespected. Marchessault said he felt like he got disrespected the way the offers
don't
were
even
going.
make Vegas into it, man. I'm
just saying, I'm just bringing in Marchessault.
I'm just saying,
it's
like
realistic.
other than Vegas, nobody has really done this,
Yeah.
right? To that type of player.
So
and Vegas's players are not even that type of player, like how Stamkos is to Lightning.
but if you're a Pittsburgh Penguins fan,
You're
let's just,
re-signing Crosby. You're bringing him back.
even if that means you're missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let's just say they want the approach like, oh, we want to rebuild, and Pittsburgh is crying for a rebuild.
Okay, yeah. Then
Like as a fan,
it's like I said, these type of players are the players that you listen to, right? Tampa Bay didn't listen to Stamkos.
and Tampa
never
Bay is
really
still good.
happened.
Pittsburgh's in a different situation too, but yeah.
Yeah, like it's honestly it's gonna fall down to Crosby. That's just how it is. That's how this works. It's like realistically, if Stamkos really like he felt disrespected, that's why he left, right? If like Stamkos would still be fighting and pushing to be a Tampa Bay Lightning right now, if the talks were still ongoing and all that stuff. He wouldn't have gone on July 1 to the Nashville Predators if there was still
Because the talks
if the bridge
were
wasn't
delayed
fully
too.
burned. Yeah.
Talks were delayed as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Like there's a reason why Stamkos left instantly,
Yeah.
right? In terms of that, like this stuff doesn't happen often, right? And it shouldn't even really be called the Tampa Bay approach because it's really not an approach.
It's not an approach. Yeah, fair. But what if this is a start of an approach?
It's not gonna be because who's next?
Crosby.
Exactly. Whatever Crosby wants, Crosby gets.
Crosby's gonna get an extension.
Exactly.
I get
Like,
it.
there's
But
no point of debating this because it's Crosby. It's as simple as that.
But, like, again-
what you think? What the hell the Edmonton Oilers are gonna do with Draisaitl?
well, he's young. That's different. I'm
Yeah, no,
talking,
but
I'm talking
still,
about the
like,
aging guys.
He's 29 at the end of the day, but like still,
Like Ovechkin, for
Like, what are
example,
you gonna do
wanted the
with him?
$9 million and they gave it to him. That's fine.
that's just how it is.
But I'm saying like what management, like what Tampa Bay just did
Yeah,
with Stamkos.
it was
who dropped
disrespectful.
40.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But at the end of the day,
But
they took a hard decision and felt like, yeah, like
So
we feel
out
like
of, like,
Gensel's gonna make you
out
better.
of the last like all these years, when did this really happen?
No, I get that point of view.
Yeah, like-
I'm saying, what if it starts?
It's not gonna start because who's next? Crosby. It's Cindy Crosby.
I know, and I get that.
The
okay.
best player in the NHL
So-
before Connor McDavid entered.
Yeah, obviously, like I'm giving a hypothetical where Pittsburgh, let's just say that Pittsburgh's like, okay,
It's not gonna work with Pittsburgh. I'm telling you that right now. I'm
What?
fully confident. Right? I can't even listen to a hypothetical because it's so far out there.
okay, fine. Who's a
It doesn't
realistic
make
guy then?
sense.
Who's a Stamkos guy that you could see at that
I
age?
don't see anyone. I didn't see it with Stamkos, and it happened. Obviously, I'm shocked it happened. Like I said, like I even opened up this episode saying Stamkos is gonna look really ugly in that yellow jersey.
And I 100% agree with everything you said there. But yeah,
Exactly. It's because it never happens. It's as simple as that. Like these guys don't move very often.
unless
not at all.
unless the player asks out himself.
Unless the player asks for himself. Like Tavares wanted out. That's why he left. Joe Thornton and Marlowe were sensing that Sharks gonna be shit. They left themselves. Right? This is the first time where a Stamkos type player wanted to stay and it just didn't work out. That's what happened. It doesn't happen often.
Okay, so I'm gonna close it on this. Should teams? I'm not saying because of what the player is. So, for example, I'm gonna use the Sedins in this example. And back in 2017, whenever this happened, should the Canucks have moved on from the Sedins? Let's just say
No.
So you're saying that no matter what the Sedins ask for, you give them that money, even though that means we're missing playoffs.
Unless it's like, you know, like anything crazy, like still have to be value. Like 8 mil still fair. Was like Sedins were asking like 10, 12 mil. That makes no sense. But if they're still asking for like a fair market value, then you give it. It goes both ways. If Stamkos was asking for 10 million,
Yeah.
right?
So if Crosby's asking for,
Stamkos not a 10 million.
if Crosby next year asks for like 12 million, and it's Crosby, let's just say 15 million. Let's just say he wants to be the highest paid guy.
That doesn't make sense. That's not a market. That's not fair market price.
Okay,
in my opinion.
we'll leave it there. But it's a good debate to have, though, or not a debate, a good discussion to have.
Yeah,
realistically,
it never
because,
happens. It just never happens.
Who knows? Because it could start eventually, and this could be the start. It could not be.
I'm just saying this: if the Pittsburgh Penguins do this shit to Cindy Crosby,
there's
that
because Crosby's still performing at a high level.
That organization is going to burn. And
Yeah.
I'll be one of the people leading it. I'm just saying that right now.
All right, speaking of Jake Ensel's old team, let's move on here. The Canes had a lot of question marks going into it. They were your favorites to win the cup or at least make the finals last
They
year.
were my pick to win the cup in the playoffs, yeah.
They lose Jake Gensel, another scoring piece. They lose Brady Shea. They lose Tara Vinen. They lose Brett Pesce and all these guys. They add Sean Walker. They re-signed Jacob Slavin and all these guys. Do you still view them as one of these top teams out of the East, especially now Tampa adding Gensel? The Devils, we're going to talk about later, adding some moves.
Let's focus more on the
Capitals.
Metropolitan. Like, who's still there? The Rangers?
The Rangers and the Devils, I want to say.
Devils, you could still say. And
Because one of the guys went to the Devils.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm really confident that they're still better than the Islanders. They're still better than the Penguins. That they're still better than the Capitals. So
Capitals made moves, though.
Capitals did make moves, but I'm still confident that because of the continuity factor in Carolina, I'm very confident that Carolina will be top 3 in the division again.
But do they need to add another scoring coach, which is why they got traded for Jake Gensel in the first place?
Yeah, they need to, but like realistically, you can't really add anyone at the moment.
The free agency's done. Like every
Because,
top player
like
is gone.
legit,
Like the
everyone.
only guy available is like Vladimir Tarasenko.
And
And he's not a top guy.
He's not going to do much
Yeah.
anymore.
So anyone on the trade market that could potentially be available.
Yeah, but overall, the Canes will be, again, the Canes like they were in the beginning of the season without Gensel. Obviously, yes, defensively, they're going to take a little bit of a hit because Shea and Pesce are gone. But then again, they're already so deep defensively. And as long as Freddie Anderson stays healthy, the Canes will be fine in terms of the regular season.
Sticking with the Metro Division, then let's talk about the New Jersey Devils, who are looking to be healthy next year. But they added Jacob Markstrom. We talked about that a little bit earlier, and now the thing that we talked about was like how will they be defensively? They added Brandon Dillon, who will be their third pairing guy, big guy who will help with the physicality, and Brett Pesce.
Yeah, so again, both solid defensemen. Big one being Dougie Hamilton, hopefully being back healthy from his torn pec. And we also need to see how do Luke Hughes and Simone Nemec step up as well. Like, there's a lot of different factors coming into this because at the end of the day, the defensemen they added is just to fill out Pesce and Dillon are just to fill out their defensive core.
Yeah, because like especially losing Damon Severs and Ryan
the main
Reeves
guys
last year.
are obviously going to be Dougie Hamilton, Nemec, and Hughes.
Yeah, because they lost John Marino as well. But
then overall, like, they filled it out well. They've kind of set it up pretty well. Now it's just up to, Hamilton hopefully being back healthy, and let's see if their young guys take that step up, and obviously if Markstrom just continues his game, they'll be much improved defensively and goaltending wise. And honestly, like, even just with Markstrom and then without even adding the defenseman.
This is Markstrom. You added like last year, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Goaltending was terrible. Injuries happened to the top guys, both offensively and defensively, and they didn't really fill out Damon Severs and Ryan Graves. This offseason, what did they need to figure out? Obviously, that's just based on the season, but they added Jacob Markstrom and they added Pesce and Dillon. So I feel like as long as they're healthy, I'm confident I'm putting ahead of the Canes. Are you with that right now? As long as they're healthy.
Yeah, that's fair. As long as they're healthy, yeah, I agree. I would put them ahead of the Canes.
Okay. Last team in the Metropolitan Division to talk about, and honestly, the team that had a lot of question marks, but they had one goal, which was get this guy right here, Alexander Ovechkin, beating Gretzky's record. But they made a lot of A lot of interesting moves that were like, is it good or bad? But it looks like they are hitting the competitive window, especially making the playoffs. Upgraded their goalie as good as Charlie Lindgren did last year. They added Logan Thompson, right? They added Andre Mangiapane. They traded for Jacob Chikrin. They traded, obviously, the PLD trade, which we obviously shared our thoughts already. And I think they added Matt Roy on the defensive end. So they actually upgraded a lot.
Defensively and goaltending wise, they definitely upgraded. I still believe that they're missing that offensive punch, right? Which,
they're kind of hoping PLD to be that.
They're kind of hoping, but then at the end, you're hoping.
Yeah.
Obviously, then in that case, a lot of the offense is going to fall on the back of Ovechkin again, which is one of the reasons why he struggled in the playoffs, because him finding his scoring touch late in the season is a reason why the Capitals made that push into the playoffs. That just led to the burnout of Ovechkin.
But if Ovechkin shows up to training camp in shape, unlike last year, and does it from the beginning, it will make life easier for the team as well.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't make life easier for Ovechkin. That's all I'm trying to say.
True, but they're obviously banking on PLD to be something, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, last year he struggled, which means what's going to happen this year?
Yeah, inconsistent, so he should be good this year.
And then they added a pretty decent guy in Brandon Duhaime, who went from Minnesota to Colorado and did well with Colorado last year. A big guy that the Canucks were looking at both trade and this offseason as well. So I think yes, the Predators upgraded heavily. I might put the Caps slightly not slightly, right behind them, at 2.
Yeah, okay. They
compared to last year, especially.
They've definitely upgraded. That's for sure. I just don't think it's enough, because you have the Carolina Hurricanes, you have the New Jersey Devils, you have the New York Rangers all in your division, and you're probably still going to be fighting with the Islanders and the Penguins within your division. And you look at the other side, you have Tampa Bay, you have Florida, you have Toronto, you have Boston, right? East is tough. The East is very tough. So again, I don't really necessarily see him playoff lock is barely. They're not even a playoff lock. They're definitely not a contender.
They're a playoff hopeful. Last year they weren't even a playoff hopeful, and they got into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. That is for sure. But then again, a lot of things fell their way, right? Pittsburgh who expect Pittsburgh to be that bad, realistically?
True, but their additions, I think this year they added a lot more pieces that I feel like that should.
I know it's good. It's good pieces. Don't get me wrong. It is good pieces, and I'm pretty I would put Washington in the playoffs, personally.
You would?
Yeah, but I personally would also pick them, have them being eliminated in the first round as well.
Okay, so you're more more confident in Predators reaching the Stanley Cup final, or more confident in Washington?
Predators.
No, it's reaching the Stanley Cup finals.
Yeah.
Or Washington reaching the playoffs. Making the playoffs.
Oh, I'm more confident in Washington making the playoffs.
Okay, because how you listed out those teams, I wasn't sure. Yeah. I'm excited to see. I just want this guy to show up in shape. This is gonna be his final year once he beats the record, anyways. So might as well go deep and everything in.
I know you're getting the last few years of Ovechkin, and
maybe last, literally.
Maybe last, because he might break the record this year, and he's just barely over 40 goals away.
Yeah.
To do it, which is very possible. We could see it by the end of the next season.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
So the Maple Leafs, they improved. That's the best way to put it. They have improved. Are the contracts fat? Yes, because Tanev is 34 himself, who has a 6-year deal.
So he's gonna be 40.
Ekman Larsson's obviously over north of 30, who has another 4-year deal himself. But what does this team need? Defense. Who is one of the best defensive defensemen in the game, even at this age? It's Christopher Tanev. And perfect match in terms of Leafs. They got their guy, and this signing, in terms of the fit and the need, has to be one of the best signings in free agency so far.
Yeah, player wise, 100% agree with you. AAV wise, I think that's why they signed it to 6 years. But Chris Tanev being 34, giving him a 6-year is steep. Now, the good news is the cap should be going up and up, especially with how good the Stanley Cup Finals did.
Yeah.
You're banking on the American audience to watch more hockey, right? Because there was nothing else on. Like I said, hockey won in terms of a viewing perspective in all of North America. I like it. Kristanov wise, I have nothing bad to say, so I'm gonna just leave that there. It's just like, can he just stay healthy because he has been injury prone in the past.
But he's
After
been
the
healthy.
Canucks has been better.
He's been healthy recently.
And the other thing is like, is it gonna be a 3-year? Then the back end, we'll see how bad that goes. OEL is still my question mark, and the reason is it depends on the system that Berube will play, right? Berube is labeled as a talker type of guy, and OEL is with Arizona struggle under talk it a little bit. Obviously, with the Canucks, it wasn't that much of a time they had together there. But like, so if Berube is like that, and OEL is struggling, like, you know, because of his injuries, he struggled. Because of that, the skating struggled a little bit. What he did with, the question is, what type of role is he going to play? Now, it's a hefty price for a third pairing guy, if that's the case. 4 years, $3.5 million.
I'm pretty sure it's a third pairing guy.
Yeah, so
and for a guy,
I'm just interested to see what OEL does, just because like Florida style is different.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, Berube is a hard coach. Paul Maurice is also a hard coach too.
Yeah,
right? The style is different.
But Paul Maurice is more of a player's coach, as people like to describe it.
Yeah, but he is, you know, he's tough on the players still.
Yeah,
right. That's just how it is. And obviously, Berube, again, cup-winning coach, right? Berube deserves his respect. There's a reason why he was one of the first coaches off the board in the coaching market, and there's a reason why the Leafs were going after him. And them getting Berube as a coach should already improve the team defensively. And obviously now you added Tanev. The question is OEL, but we've seen a lot of good OEL more than bad OEL in his career. So I'm not gonna say he's gonna be necessarily terrible, but I'm not also not gonna say he's gonna be like anything special either.
Yeah.
I think he's just a guy that's gonna fill in a hole that the Maple Leafs have on defense. I definitely think he'll be better than Klingberg was.
Yeah.
In the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, and also a guy coming off a cup, and his value is probably at the highest he could have been. So obviously, he cashed out, and obviously he was bound to get overpaid no matter where he was gonna go, in my opinion.
They also, one thing they added was their goaltending. They decided they go to the Edmonton route and pay their own guy, which is Joseph Woll in this case. Problem with him is he's been injured. He hasn't had like a full season yet. The guy they signed for his backup, who could end up being the starter for all we know, is because he was a big factor of why Florida was also good last year, was Anthony Stolarz, who has more career games in one season than Joseph Woll did, right? So you got to look at it that way as well. So they've definitely addressed certain things. It's still like, yes, they're still going to make the playoffs. They're still the Leafs. It's just, let's see how much does OEL especially, but also Kristanov heavily upgrade the whole team in terms of like, can they get past the first round?
Do you think they take the Bruins approach and really just split Wall and Stolarz?
They probably need to if they want to keep both healthy.
Yeah, and that, especially keeping Wall healthy, because he was clearly the best goalie in Toronto last year, right? He just couldn't be on the ice. And the difference between this and the Bruins thing is that the Bruins legit had 2 number 1 guys fighting at it after it. These guys, right now, Wall is unproven and Stolarz is a backup. So it's going to be a little bit different, but I do believe that the more you split these guys, I think the better it will be for the Maple Leafs.
Okay, so you brought up the Bruins very quickly. Bruins did finish ahead of the Leafs in the standings. Obviously, they were neck and neck with the Panthers. Bruins added Zadorov and Elias Lindholm, obviously finished the season with the Canucks last year. Who are you more confident in out of those 2 teams right now?
As of right now, I'm pretty confident in the Bruins. One issue with the Bruins right now is that them and Swayman are not like really, you know.
They're gonna get it done.
They have to get it done.
Just figure that out. It's like how you said Crosby. That
out.
Crosby situation earlier. It's the same thing. I'm gonna say the same thing. They have to get it done.
Yeah.
You made your decision. It's gotta be Swayman.
It's gotta be Swayman. You gotta give Swayman his money at this rate. That's the only big issue right now in Bruins. Lindholm, obviously, match made in heaven.
It was like a worst kept secret. Like, it was like
bound to happen, right? Like,
and he plays well with good players, and you give him David Pastrnak, for example, or
he's their 1C. There's a new big Z in Boston now, which is Zadorov. Used to be Chara, but again, Boston. I'm fairly confident because Boston is just has the same squad. Boston's like a team that, even though they had a hole, they just never really play like they have any holes on their team.
So you're confident in Boston finishing ahead of the Leafs and even probably going further in the playoffs if that's the case?
Yeah. Okay, standing wise, it's going to be different just because
regular season is different. I get
regular
that.
season, where you know what the Leafs might just like cook. But playoff wise, I'm I would bet my money on Boston making it further than the Maple Leafs.
All right, let's go to the Western Conference to close it out here. Our new favorite rivalry, one that we're part of, the Canucks and the Oilers. But let's talk about the Oilers very quickly. Obviously, heartbreaking loss in the Cup Finals. They still need to figure out what they're going to do with Leon Draisaitl. They bought out Jack Campbell. He's officially, I forget where he went, but he's obviously
I think
gone.
it was the Red Wings.
Yeah, probably. Obviously, a lot of the vet pieces went to like the Sharks and the Blackhawks, which is like fair. You want to make Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard easy of not impossible. But they went out. They re-signed Matthias Janmark. They re-signed Adam Henrique. They added Victor Arvidsson.
And they re-signed Corey Perry.
And they re-signed Corey Perry. So they let Warren Fogle walk to the Kings. Obviously, maybe a slight overpay for them. But I still think they're slightly upgraded. Because I think Victor Arvidsson's that good. It's just, can he stay on the ice?
You got Skinner as well.
Jeff Skinner.
Jeff Skinner, obviously, now, yeah.
Which is a good contract for him as well.
Yeah, good contract, good spot for him. Obviously his contract was fat in Buffalo, but I feel like, recently Skinner's been, playing a little bit better in terms of like what he was a couple years ago, where he was like labeled the worst contract in the NHL type of thing. I think Skinner's going to be a good ad for them. I definitely do believe Arvidsson will be a nice addition for sure.
As long as he's healthy.
As long as he's healthy, I do believe Arvidsson will produce in Edmonton and it will be a good, nice fit there. Again, defensively, they showed that they could play defensively, and Skinner showed that he could be a number one goalie in this league. Yeah, no,
like Jeff Skinner, 1 year, $3 million, good prove-it contract for him, and usually people like that will prove it, especially if you're playing with like Connor McDavid and or Leon Draisaitl. I like the depth they added in that sense as well, because now they have an option with RNH. You could run 3 center deep, right? Or you could, and if you need to, you could pile on RNH.
So
with
you have guys. Their big need was try to add a top 6 winger, or at least a middle 6 winger. You kind of added 2 that kind of fill that need essentially, and Arvidsson, will see what he does, and obviously Skinner will see what he does. But you have 2 good options there that could plug in that middle 6 hole, potentially even play on the top line as well.
Yeah,
whenever you need to, and don't really always have to go to McDavid and Draisaitl and go top line heavy the whole time.
Favorites to go to the finals from the West? Yes or no? After these moves on paper.
Yes, I would go with the Oilers. I think they're going to finals.
Okay.
I think they're the favorites.
A player that did lose, which is size, which the Canucks added. Let's close it out with the Canucks. Obviously, let's try not to ramble here a little bit, but Canucks started off, kind of slow, which we were like, what the hell? And all of a sudden, I guess the one team that keeps a lot of secrets, because a lot of the moves weren't announced by Elliot Friedman or like Kevin Weeks or whoever, right? It was announced by the Canucks themselves. And they ended up getting their plan B, which is a pretty good plan B for Jake Gensel and or Sam Reinhart. By the way, Sam Reinhart has the best contract in hockey, in my opinion, as of right now.
I don't know how he didn't get over $9 million.
But going back to the Canucks, Jake DeBrusk, 7 years, that part hefty, but $5.5 million can be a really, really nice bargain contract for the Canucks.
So it is plan B. It is a good plan B. And obviously they added Kiefer Sherwood. They added Danton Heinen.
So essentially the Canucks and Bruins did business without doing business with each other.
Yeah, and Forbert. And then obviously Vincent Desharnais was the Oilers to the Canucks. Big guy, 6'7". But going back to DeBrusk, it's simple, right? Like the difference between him and Gensel is that, if PD struggles, Gensel could still carry the line. That's not going to happen with Jake DeBrusk. And the reason is, if PD's successful, then DeBrusk will be successful. That's just how it's going to work in my mind. If PD is playing his best hockey in terms of like, doesn't mean point production, but in terms of like how he finished off the Edmonton series, where he started to look dangerous, right? Where he kind of started to look PD. And because that PD set up Mikheyev and Höglander for chances and all that stuff, that they didn't finish, which made his points a little bit lower than it should have been in the playoffs. But then again, PD did not have a good playoffs. Elias Pettersson's going to have to be that line driver. He's going to have to he still has to, carry this line. But Jake DeBrusk is a much better upgrade than Ilya Mikheyev for sure. And I believe Jake DeBrusk will finish those chances that Mikheyev couldn't finish. And I know DeBrusk has been inconsistent in his career, but these last couple of years he has been pretty good. He personally had a good playoffs. I personally think he had a good playoffs, both last year and this year. I think he started off the Florida series well when they got eliminated, and then this year, again, they got eliminated by Florida. Yeah. But I think he did well in the Toronto series. I think he got a few goals. So I think DeBrusk is a good plan B, but the difference is it's still going to fall on Elias Pettersson.
So here's my thing, right? You've mentioned the inconsistency, which I agree with. But from doing a little bit of research, I found out why. Because obviously that was the period where he requested trades and stuff. And he talked to the media. He said COVID was a big factor of that. But the main reason why was Bruce Cassidy. He did not get along with Bruce Cassidy well. The minute Bruce Cassidy left, and Bruce Cassidy wasn't the only he had the player issue with. Many other players did too, but it affected Jake DeBrusk a lot, right? To the point where we're like, oh, should we trade for Jake DeBrusk? And we were like, no, because we don't know what type of guy this is. This is going to be another classic.
Virtanen.
Yeah, but not even just Virtanen, but a classic like Jesse Puljujarvi type situation, right? 2 times he scored more than 25 goals. He had 27 goals in his career. He had 19 last year. So that's number 1. Number 2, like you said, he's been a playoff performer. He's shown that. And last year especially was without any key top center. This time, whether it be Elias Pettersson, whether it be JT Miller, he has 2 options there already that could fit. Your line drive point, I agree to it for the most extent, mostly, except only thing I will slightly disagree with is because of what he did in the playoffs without a top center, we've seen that he can kind of carry a load. If there's, like, obviously Pettersson cannot be long stretch inconsistent. I'm saying like maybe a week, right? I feel like he has the capabilities of doing that. But I do agree with you mostly that Pettersson needs to be going with him and there's no excuse there. So I like it. The 7 is scary, but the thing is, the 7 is he's my age. He's 27, turning 28.
Yeah.
Right?
You're old.
True. Not for him, but like hockey-wise. Like usually, like if this was betting,
this was the best year.
This was gonna be like Louis Eriksson got a 6-year deal at 30 something, right?
Yeah,
so,
that didn't make sense.
I want to pivot off of DeBrusk for a second here. So we agreed with there.
I just want to make one last point of DeBrusk. It kind of reminds me when the Oilers paid Hyman. So
yeah.
Like DeBrusk is anything like Hyman in terms of production-wise. This is such a big W. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, like DeBrusk came here because he liked the center options here because he was supposed to go to Seattle and they didn't have they don't have a Miller or a Pettersson, right? Now Hyman did have McDavid, so there's a little bit of a difference there, and even Draisaitl.
Pettersson's got to play like McDavid now.
But yeah, no, I'm gonna pivot off of DeBrusk for a second. We'll just see how it goes. Hopefully, it works out there and it's not a bad contract. But Danton Heinen has his career high in point. He had 17 goals, I think, last year or something like along that line. His career high is apparently more than Höglander and Mikheyev has ever had. And he's supposed to be
combined,
he's supposed to be a bottom pairing dude.
Combined or?
No, separate.
So bottom, trio, not pairing.
Yeah.
So I think Danton Heinen might get minutes on that top line.
I think they might give him an opportunity with Miller and Besser or even PD and DeBrusk, and maybe Pio Suter could line up as a 4th line center or 3rd line center, however they want to play it. I think I just have this weird feeling that I'm not even sure how the fit is and all that stuff, but I just have this feeling that Heinen, Miller, and Besser will be the starting lineup in game 1 of the next season. Yeah, we'll see what Talker does because, like, at the end of the day, Suter still kind of decently worked with him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so then at the end of the day...
I feel like he could be a good option. Obviously, Suter's already a good option because he's shown that. Sherwood, in terms of if you want to add a forecheck to that line, could be a good 100%. Option.
Like,
I'm just saying all these guys, like Talkett loves experimenting lines. We've seen this guy change lines even after we win a game.
Kiefer Sherwood can potentially be Dakota Joshua.
He could be, yeah. Like, another one, right? So I'm just saying, like, how Talkett has been experimenting with these lines, putting the Lotto line together, splitting them apart, all that stuff, and getting Lafferty up there in the line. I think, like, Heinen and Sherwood will be better upgrades than Lafferty
and Mikheyev.
In terms of, like, being a part of that top line. I think they will give better minutes if they ever get those top line
Kiefer
minutes.
Sherwood obviously had a hell of a series against the Canucks because of the way he, like, especially with Quinn Hughes,
he's also fast, which is good.
Obviously, the only reason why he's not a Nashville Predator, which would have been a perfect fit still for them, is because of the moves they made to help them offensively there, which we talked about earlier. But going on, defensively is still the question mark. Yes, forward is a cheaper Ian Cole. But again, there's no play driving guy outside of Hughes and Hronek, so there's going to be a question mark: split them again or not. Before you go, Vincent Desharnais also, like, obviously they have like the bunch of tall ass dudes, that are gonna be
big
physical,
guys,
great penalty killers, which is what they had last year. The question is, like, that was our concern last year, and even before the Zadorov trade, Canucks were on a hot streak, right? They're obviously going down the route where they're going to try to find a guy like a Zadorov during the season. Whoever that could be, that's potentially available for the cheap 1-year contract, 2-year contract. My thing is, I still think they need to add maybe another top 6 guy, especially on the right side, or even, like, it depends, because right now Tyler Myers is in the second pair once again. That's the only thing.
That's an issue. I'm gonna say this in terms of, I don't think Zadorov's physical presence is gonna be missed, because you know what Zadorov also was.
A puck, he could play the puck.
He was a pretty decent passer.
Moved the puck, like,
and
he was
himself. He was a pretty solid skater for a big dude.
Yeah.
So that's what's really gonna be missed about Zadorov, not his physical presence, because
that will be missed too.
Yeah. But like, you kind of replace that with like a 6'7" Desharnais coming in. So like,
and forward and 6'4", I think.
Like, again, you got big guys. Size isn't the issue right now, right? The biggest issue is in defense is
getting the puck out of the zone.
Getting
properly,
the puck out of
not like dumping it, but
properly. Because again, we've seen many times in the playoffs, Susi iced the puck and Myers iced the puck, which, you know, keep us hemmed in our own zone for quite a bit in long period stretches, especially in the Oilers series.
Canucks, better or worse than last year? Do not say the same.
I'm going to say better, because based on, and when you look at the forward group, DeBrusque replaces Lindholm, and Lindholm was good for us, especially in the playoffs. Obviously, he didn't start off so good. But the big issue in the playoffs was finding PD a partner, and obviously PD himself. And if PD just plays better himself, a lot of the issues go away, especially the power play ones too. And then getting into DeBrusque is just a better fit because he is a winger, and it makes much more sense that he could play on either side of either Pedersen or Miller. Whereas Lindholm was kind of difficult for him to make that adjustment, because Lindholm has been a center his whole entire life.
Are they better than the Kings?
Yeah.
On paper.
Yes. I believe the Canucks are better than the Kings. I'll say this.
Are they better than Vegas?
I believe the Canucks are, the last year coming into the season, I believe the Canucks were a playoff team. I still have the same belief, and obviously what they did last year is gonna kind of, you know, is already determined their expectations, and nothing less of.
And the teams know what the Talkit playbook is gonna be like.
Nothing less of a play, like anything. If you don't make the playoffs, it's gonna be hella disappointing.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same thing. I believe they're gonna make the playoffs. I expect them to make the playoffs
as long as they're healthy.
As long as they are healthy,
and not the Devils.
Yeah, and obviously we have our goaltending, Thatcher Demko.
So compare them to Vegas then very quickly.
Vegas is better. Like, Vegas is a contender.
So you're saying, even like during the regular season, like what Vegas does, are you saying like Vegas is a top 2 lock no matter what, or can the Canucks contend with that?
The Canucks contend with the top 2. Obviously, we seen them do it last year.
So you're saying it's clearly 3.
I know, but like when it come playoff time, realistically, who are the contenders?
Which is fair.
Dallas, Colorado, Vegas, Edmonton. Like, Canucks and Nashville are a tier below that.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But once again, we'll call it there. It was the NHL free agency topped $1 billion for the first time. No real free agent remaining at the top tier. So everybody did sign on July 1st. So make sure you guys comment down below what your favorite signing is, what your favorite team did as well. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the post notification bell, because we'll be dropping an NBA one shortly as well with what happening with that free agency. Make sure you guys click any video that's on the top of our heads right here, whatever he decides to put on after done editing, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.